Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my Sunday live stream where we talk about photography and I answer any questions you might have. I always like the viewers, to drive the conversation, generally speaking, because I can never come up with a good topic. There's so many things that have been kind of discussed to death, on YouTube and in the various forums and blogs. I saw an interesting video uh, yesterday, I guess. It was like an AI generated uh, with AI voice and clips from, I guess, other videos, maybe even OM Systems directly about a OM5 Mark II coming. And the text, or I'm sorry, the what they were saying in the video was just so generic. It could apply to any camera. Uh, oh, big improvements in autofocus and the weather sealing and compactness and blah 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 blah. I was like, come on. And I just I don't know, it's just disgusting, really. This whole AI thing, some of it's pretty amazing. Like I generated a song about micro four thirds uh, using Suno, I think, and I generated the lyrics in ChatGTP and put it all together, and it came out, and it was entertaining somewhat, but it was definitely just you could tell it wasn't like an original song, right? Anywho, but it was fairly convincing. Like you wouldn't know if I didn't tell you, probably, like one of those blind test kind of things, right? So, oh, thank you for the audio and video check, David and Jeff. Good to see you, Eric. Uh, Man, so you're at Huntley Meadows, Eric? Man, you're in my neighborhood here. Let me know how that goes. And Paul is here. Dudley, good morning. And Dudley has a question. Okay, I'll come back to that. And Zoltan Burt, ATR Bear, good to see you. Uh, let me actually pull up the real chat window. Zoltan, good to see you. Robert, hey Robert, I just saw you last night. He was in the with me out shooting the boat show. And let's see. Darko's here. Wow, lots of questions already. That's good. So, looks like I'll just start here near the top. So Darko says, Rob, do you feel that shooting neutral and applying filters in post is better than importing from camera a filter applied photo and then editing from there? Oh, I would always shoot raw and apply filters in post. Shooting in camera filters like the art filters and things, sometimes I do that. Uh, just when I don't feel like post processing because the pictures are just for fun. And, but if I'm serious about a picture, yeah, I'm going to shoot in raw and post process and then apply filters if I want, right? But uh, a lot of times, the art filter may not capture the mood that I want or the feeling, right? That might be available. So, still, uh, I generally I shoot in raw and post process and apply filters from there if I want. Because once I see the picture on my computer screen where it's going to be published, say on Instagram or Flickr, I might have a different feeling about the picture and how it looks, and then decide on how to render it. But if like last night I applied some art filters. I'll show you some. They came out okay. I mean, they were just for fun, nothing serious. It was a boat show out on the Potomac in Alexandria, and it was just for fun, nothing serious. I ask, as picture profiles are becoming popular in the Z50 with downloading right from Nikon website, and you can share your own backup to that site. Yeah, this is for people that just want to have fun. The Z50 is a relatively entry-level camera, and a lot of people coming from cell phones or other cameras, this is a new thing. And, Panasonic did that with their LUTs. And I think, yeah, it's just for fun. It's fine. I wouldn't, but no, no, I don't think I think if you're serious about the image, you're going to take care of the processing yourself, using whatever raw editor you have. Yeah. And like you said, it's like the S9. Uh, and good morning. Let's see. I thought I saw another question from Dudley. Says, good morning, Rob. I have perhaps an odd question. Is it possible to use PureRAW and then open the DNG file in Photolab? I believe so. Yeah, I don't see why not. But Photolab has the PureRAW built in. Now, depending on what versions you have of each, right? So if you have PureRAW is up to version 4 and Photolab is up to version 8. Photolab 8 has the PureRAW Deep Prime XD built in, so you don't have to do that process, that sort of roundabout. And but if you have PureRAW 3 and Photolab 8 is going to have the better raw processor and denoising. And then uh, if you have Photolab 7 and PureRAW 4, then PureRAW 4 is going to be slightly better in the high ISO images. But generally speaking, there's not much difference between Photolab 7 and PureRAW 4, except in the very high ISO images. If you're shooting like 6400 ISO or lower, there's no difference at all, really, between the two. It's only when you get up to higher ISO that I could see. So that's kind of the caveat to that question is, what versions do you have? So I would say if you have Photolab 6 or 7, you're fine. Uh, you don't need to do this roundabout because Photolab 6 and 7 have basically the same uh, denoising algorithm. 7's a little better. PureRAW 3 is a little better than Photolab 6, etc. So I guess to narrow it down, if you have PureRAW 3 and it's a high ISO image, yeah, definitely do that for Photolab 6. If you have PureRAW 4, then you want to do that roundabout uh, with Photolab 7 or 6, right, or older. And then if you have PureRAW 4 and Photolab 8, definitely use Photolab 8 has the latest of everything. Hopefully that answers your question. Unless there's some other reason you're doing that roundabout that I'm not thinking of. Because a lot of times people ask me questions and they have this workflow that I don't see the rationale for it, right? But then they explain what they're trying to do, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's why you're doing it that way, rather than just using Photolab 8, for example. So uh, I'm just giving the answer based on what I can kind of know about the different products, but I don't know what your workflow is and why you're doing it that way. Okay, and Paul is here. Let's see. Um, play the song. Okay, I'll see if I can play it. One topic I would be interested in your thoughts is bracketing. I've been using it a lot recently. Winter lighting can be tricky and gives the option for HDR. Oh yeah, definitely. Bracketing is really a core skill set that you need to have when you're doing photography, because there's going to be plenty of instances where uh, the dynamic range is going to be beyond your camera, right? Because typically, like sunsets, sunrises, and these are typical scenarios in snow on a sunny day. you know, these are scenarios that there's going to be extremely high dynamic range, and bracketing is almost mandatory, regardless of camera system you have. And it's I think preferred over say using graduated ND filters for sky. I think it's if you're good at raw processing your bracketed images, like blending them together in say Photoshop, uh, then yeah, bracketing is definitely I bracket all the time, when needed, right? I don't let me rephrase that. I don't hesitate to bracket shots, especially exposure bracketing, uh, to get the dynamic range that I want because a lot of times I don't want all the noise and the shadows, but I want to capture the colors in the sky. So I'll bracket and I'll expose for the shadows and the sky and blend them in post processing. And there's a couple of ways to do it, right? You can do it via HDR. It's kind of an automated uh, exposure blending, which the results are usually pretty good, especially with Nik Collection. Nik Collection is really good HDR, but Photoshop and Lightroom does it. And those results are generally pretty good, but there's no substitute for exposure blending yourself, where you bring the images into Photoshop as layers and you brush in the masking that you want uh, to to get the exposure that you want in the highlights and shadows. Okay, and Robert's here from the Philippines. Welcome. Thank you for coming in this morning. And Shri is here, and Marco. Oh my goodness, everybody's here, and Roger. Awesome. So it's good to see everyone. So the next one was somebody wanted me to play that song I did in AI. So let me see if I can find that real quick. Because I don't, I probably, I just kind of listened to it, and then I'm sure I saved it somewhere. Maybe in music folder. No, I might have deleted it. Video folder. Definitely not there. It's still on my desktop. I doubt it. I might have deleted it already. Dang it. How about my recycle bin? I, because I did some house cleaning yesterday on my hard drive, or my computer, I should say. Oh, I'll never find it in a recycle bin. It's loaded with stuff. Come on, it's got to be here. So how about under downloads? No, that's okay. One more check. It's got to be in music here. Okay, it's not there. I wouldn't put that in a pictures folder. It's definitely not in the video folder. Huh. I'll look one more place. Otherwise, I'm going to give up. It's not there. It's not there. It's not. How about in this folder? I wonder. I wonder if I go to that website if they save it for me. Oh, they did. I can download it again, I think. Yeah, I can download it again. So I'll download it and play it in a few minutes. Oh, boy, that was quick. Okay, let me play it real quick. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear it though. Let me see. Small and mighty, ready to So if I set the speaker to properties, no, LG ultrafine. Let's see if that works. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So let's play it. And I have I have one other thing I want to do. We're going to make this kind of more interesting. Let's see. It's got to be in this folder, D Media 2024. .mp4. .mov. Okay, I got it. I'm going to play this video that I recorded the other day with this song. So let's mute this and play this song. Small and mighty, ready to roll. A compact body with a big old soul. Fits in my bed, no weight to bear. Wherever I wander, it's always there. Oh, Michael, 4/3, you got the flair. Anyway, that was it. Let me see if I can find my way back to the chat. All right, so that was that. I thought that was pretty cool, but you know, if you guys hadn't seen that video before, I recorded that, I think, with my OM1 and this new swirly filter that I got. It's a lens filter that you put on the front of your lens. I might have it. Oh, it's crap. I don't know. But it's pretty cool. I'll talk about it more on Tuesday on my shopping stream. You should buy it, definitely. Anyway, let's see. So that was the bracketing question. Shri Roger was looking at Adaptalux lighting products, very expensive. Do you have any alternative products on your Amazon page? I don't even know what Adaptalux is. Let me look. So, oh, these guys. Okay. Oh, they got RGB. These are RGB uh lights. That's really cool. I'll look for something. I'll look for something. These are pretty cool. Yeah, I'll look for something on Tuesday. Or if I find something after the stream, I can email you. Uh, we'll do it that way. But as of now, I don't have anything like that. And Paul says, I've set up C1 and C2 to 3 and 5 shots at plus or minus 1 and 2 stops for quick access. Okay, I guess that's respectively. I process HDRs in Luminar Neo. Does a really nice job. Okay, so just sharing your workflow there. Yeah, 3 to 5 shots. I mean, if it's super high dynamic range, the only problem I run into, like with plus or minus 5 stops with uh, certain scenes, is if it's very strongly backlit, right? The problem is you get a lot of bloom, and it's not the lens or camera, but the way the light just is so strong coming around darker subjects, even at plus or minus uh, 5 stops, the HDR is not going to come out great when there's really, really strong backlighting. For most images, you're not dealing with that, right? I mean, I wouldn't take a picture of something that's so strongly backlit unless I was intending to do silhouettes and things. But yeah, there's almost no chance of getting a decent image on very strongly backlit scenes. Like, if you have the sun uh right next to, say, a building, right? And the building is in shadow and the sun is, bright. Plus or minus 5 on something like that is going to be hard even for, to get a decent image. But the workflow, what Paul is suggesting here, is solid though. That's a good way to do it. I mean, apparently he does it often enough that he dedicated a whole custom setting to it. And Eric says, wish you brought the 300, or wish you bought that 300 f4. Have my 90, but only turkey tail mushrooms for that. But the 300 will be open. Yeah. OM Systems has the 300 f4 refurbished buy directly from OM Systems for 1,900 bucks right now, or 2,000. But yeah, 1999 or something. So you guys, that's a deal. That's a deal. Uh, and it's a great lens. And Andrew says, I know of no cheaper alternative to Adaptalux that offers anywhere near the power or flexibility. JJC has a very cheap option. Adaptalux are not RGB, fixed color arms. Oh yeah, I misspoke. I saw the different colors, so I just said RGB. But RGB implies that a single light can change colors, where it looks like the Adaptalux has different colors for each light. But that's what I meant. That's what I meant. But yeah, you're right. I need to be a little more specific, I guess. And the JJC version is very basic by comparison, but might be all some people need. Okay. So look for JJC, Roger, maybe, and I'll look for that too and let you know what I find. And ATR Bear says, "Hi, Rob. With the M1 Mark III, okay, is there a way to utilize exposure delay in conjunction with handheld high-res shot?" Yes. What you would do, I don't have the EM1 Mark III, but uh, let me double check. What I was going to say was you need to go into the silent shutter settings and set the delay there, because handheld high-res shot basically use silent shutter. So you go into the silent shutter settings and you set the delay in silent shutter settings, and that will apply to the handheld high-res shot. But I thought the handheld high-res shot had it already built in the menu. Uh, there should be a menu setting to delay the handheld high-res shot to start. If it's not there, then you can do it via the silent shutter setting. If you do both at the same time, let's say you put 2 seconds on the high-res shot and 2 seconds in the silent, you're gonna get 4-second delay, just so you know. I'm pretty sure though, the, I mean, I have my EM5 Mark III hooked up here, which is basically an EM1 Mark II. It's not the same. But I believe that's the answer. Check that. If that's not the case, then I'll uh, I'll try again. But I'm pretty sure that's what you need to do. Does anyone know why Topaz often makes me reauthorize? No, I don't use Topaz. I have it, but I don't use it. Because I have Photolab. Do you feel that shooting neutral? Oh, sorry, I addressed that one. See, my chat jumped all the way back up. That's why I can never. Oh, David Tallett's here. Good morning. And let's see. There's the bracketing question. Adaptilux. And then thanks, Rob. Sometimes I want to get the look of the overall effect of the noise reduction and demosaicing and noise reduction while working on the image. Could just export a temporary JPEG. Yes. So, let me think. So you want to see you want to edit the image that's already been um, denoised, basically, right? So you want to work with a clean image and then start applying the um, now, probably most of the time that's okay, but I think for best results, it's best to work with the raw image directly and not a image that's already been processed. Uh, and then what you can do, yeah, export a temporary JPEG. There's also the loop tool. If you have Photolab 8 has a great loop tool, so you can look at parts of the image, like a magnifying glass, right? And then I don't know if you know this, but I'll pull it up. But Photolab has a great tool to compare, and this started with, I think, Photolab 7. It may be in 6, but it's been too long, I don't remember. But I'll pull that up. When that comes up, I'll show you. Um, and Andrew says, I have the Adaptilux set. It's exceptional what it can do. That's interesting. I think I saw the Adaptilux thing years ago, but it didn't interest me at the time. Okay, I need to close all these other windows. Let me find a noisy image real quick. All right, this this is a good one. So Photolab 8 has the new loop tool, right? So let me apply my basic preset with the denoising, uh, brighten that up a little bit. So this is what, ISO 12,000, right? So now this is kind of cleaned up. That's the before picture, but if I turn denoising off, you can see this image is a train wreck, right? So I'm going to turn this on, but even then, this is not fully processed, right? This is sort of a preview. So there's a loop tool here, and you can adjust the percentage. So that'll give me an idea of the noise reduction, right? Via the loop tool, and I can go anywhere in the image to do that. But let's say I export this as a JPEG like you were talking about, like this. And give that a second. I have a little timer down here. Should only take like 10 seconds. Okay, so now what I can do is up here in the compare, I can select the image I just exported, right? And now I can compare them side by side like this, or all the different ways, right, that you can compare things. Uh, so I hope that makes sense. But that's the way I would do it. Is something like that. Okay, let me go back to. So that's how I would do it. Is you could export the noise reduced image and then start editing the raw image and then go back and compare directly to the exported image and just do exports time to time and continue comparing. Okay. Uh, all new OM52 with 24 megapixels. Yeah. Could be. Could be coming. I would probably buy that. I don't know. It depends. If I had no cameras, I would buy it. But yeah, I got so many. It's hard. It's hard and it's easy, right? It's like a no-brainer. It's a great camera. It'll do a lot of things. I am in my imagination. I should buy it. But then I got so many great cameras that do everything. Oh, yeah, I have a problem, I know. Okay. Um, all right, so I don't see any other questions here. So keep them coming. In the meantime, I'll show you some shots I did last night at the boat show. Um, so this one, uh, how do I get this full screen? I don't know how to use my own computer. Oh, there's the button. So this is, this is a single shot. And what's the EXIF data on this? ISO 1600 at 5.6, EM5 Mark II, with the 14 to 42 kit lens at 14 millimeters. This came out awesome, I think. This is the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, um, at twilight, or is it? Yeah, this twilight is the evening, right? Because there's dawn in the morning. Yeah, twilight. This is twilight. It's beautiful, and I did a larger pano where I took 4 shots and I stitched them together, and I created this. So this is one of the 4 shots here, and then this is the 4 shots stitched together. And of course, I processed in DxO with denoising and sharpening. Now, this was kind of a rush job for me, because I what I if when I inspected this image later, I'm not worried about it. It's just for fun. But if I were actually to use this for a client or something, there's some stitching errors right here, and I think there might be one over here. So there are some stitching errors that Photoshop did, and I can correct those while I'm in Photoshop to some extent. But uh, overall, it's good enough for Instagram and Flickr. Just to show what the M5 Mark II. It's like a 10-year-old camera with the 10-year-old lens it's the same lens I bought in 2015, I think. So it's 9 years, 14 to 42 kit lens. Um, let's see what else we got. This is the same thing. This one's like the same thing, 14 to 42 M5 Mark II with the uh this is at ISO 25,600, and these are all handheld. I didn't use a tripod or um do any kind of panning on a tripod. I did these manually, or at least the one before I did just handheld. That's why there's stitching errors, right? Because I was doing it handheld. On a tripod with the nodal point and, doing it the right way, I wouldn't have had those stitching errors. Okay, yeah, so this one is ISO 25,000 EM5 Mark II in a kit lens. This is the K3 monochrome camera, also ISO 25,000 with its kit lens, the 18 to 55. And also, you'll notice the lights here have the starburst. That's another lens filter I got. I think this is the 6-point starburst. I love this effect. And this is that swirly filter again. This is the M5 Mark II. Uh, this is the 40 to 150 kit lens, the f4 to f5.6. This is at ISO 8000. And same thing, same camera and lens. I dialed in negative 1.7 EV, so I didn't clip the highlights. And we're at ISO 8000 on that one. And these have all been processed in Photolab DxO. This is the Pentax K3 monochrome with the kit lens. This is cropped quite a bit though, because I had the kit lens. I didn't have a zoom lens. This is ISO 12,800, also with the starburst filter. Didn't have quite the effect I thought it would on these. This is also a handheld. Uh, I didn't have time to set up a tripod because I got there like after the fireworks started, and they only last for about 10 minutes. So I just handheld a couple of shots. So this is a 1/25th of a second, ISO 6400. Again, EM5 Mark II and the kit lens. Well, in this case, the 40 to 150 kit lens. This is pretty much straight out of camera. I didn't do much processing. Uh, even if I didn't do the denoising, there wouldn't be much noise in this image because everything is black, and whatever is bright is very bright. So you wouldn't even see the noise in this anyway. But okay, um, so that's what I did last night. One of the things, and I did some stuff on Friday too. I'll show that later. Let me get back to the chat window. Love that bridge. I love the old 16 megapixel sensor my GX850 takes. Yeah. It's like you've been hearing over and over again. There hasn't really been a whole lot of updates in sensor tech uh, since they switched over to CMOS. I mean, CCD to CMOS, there was eventually CMOS has turned out to work out better, but CMOS, we're still dealing with the same silicon wafers and lithography to etch in the sensors onto it. Really, most of the improvements is not in the sensor, it's in the, processing in camera. to create the raw file, because raw files had to be converted from analog to digital. So that raw processing in camera is really where a lot of the improvements were, not so much in a silicon wafer, you know? Silicon is silicon. It's been around, forever. Okay, let's see. And David says it would have been nice if f-mount lenses from the 20th century were more readily available. Yes, they are pretty readily available. I mean, if you mean brand new, yeah, they're phasing out. But the used market, my God, you can't swing a cat without hitting an f-mount lens on eBay. Um, and Darko asks, Rob, have you tried to do multi-layer composites? I saw a cool vid where a guy does composites in darkroom. Yeah, those are really cool. No, I haven't. I've tried it unsuccessfully, so unsuccessfully that I'm not going to attempt it again until I really study how others are doing it. And then if I can copy them, maybe I can start to do my own. Uh, Now I have done some really interesting multi-layer composites. But again, this is a copy of what others have done. So what you're talking about is more like taking three, four, five images maybe, right? Or sometimes only two, and doing you know, multi-composited layering. If you're talking about more than that, I have tried that with some really interesting results. Again, not original, but I should do it again, but it takes a long time. But I take like 30, 40 images and I stack them together, but just a little bit different each time. And then you get this really crazy, crazy image. So, and then just to quickly answer Andrew's question, yes, it's the one with the line. I think it's right here. Yeah, it's this one. It's still on my Pentax. I don't know if I can get the light to. Can you see the lines? So if I rotate it, so yeah, it does make the images a little bit soft. It's not, it's not like a high-end like UV filter or something, right? It's got lines and defects in it. So the images do come out a little bit soft, I noticed, but they're not bad. I mean, like I said, it's just for fun, right? So I'm going to take a second to see if I can find my multi-stacked images. Uh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find them very quickly. How come? I'm just going to look very quickly in my Flickr page because I took the shots in Alexandria, so I'm just checking my Alexandria folder. Okay, it was around this time. Well, this is not the one I'm thinking of, but oh, you can't see this. This is one of them. That's kind of a double exposure that I did this with Nick Collection, I think, where it just overlaid the images on top of each other. Uh, but what I'm really looking for is I just don't see it. think it was right around. Oh, here's one. Here's one. This is not my favorite one, but just to give you an idea of, do I have a clean picture of that building? I don't. Well, so if you look closely, if we zoom in, oh, that's the most I can zoom in. This is like a composite. Did I put anything in the description about this? No. This is the Olympus Pen F with the 25 millimeter f1.8. But yeah, so this building is this is a composite of probably 15 or 20 images, I believe. And I just shifted the angle of the camera just a little, and I was on a tripod, of course, but I shifted the angle of the camera just a tiny bit and did it over and over and over again, and then put them in Photoshop. So you can see, like down here, this crane. There's only one crane, but uh, you can see like there's looks like three cranes here now. But that's one example. I have other ones that are much more interesting than this. This is pretty plain. And I wish I could remember the name of the photographer that does this a lot, because they did some amazing shots. I don't see any more. Yeah, sorry about that. That's the only one. So I've done that. And yeah, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. You bring in 20, 30, 100 images, and well, taking them, you're like making my, and use a gear head, okay? Use a gear head or some sort of, panning ball head that you can, with some precision, and just move it a little bit at a time. That's what I did with a gear head, and then stack them all together. It was a lot of work. Takes a lot of time. I mean, you might stand there and take 100 pictures. It'll take you like half an hour, uh, and then another hour or so of processing. But then the end result is really, really interesting. Okay. Let's see. Great photos, Rob. Thank you. Thank you. And good morning, Marcia. Good to see you. Can't wait for you to get in the area. Make sure you send me a message. I think you got my number, right? If not, just leave it on Meetup and then I can give you my phone number there. Uh, Rob, the Lumix cameras have the starburst effect in the built-in. Did you see it when you had the GX? No, I don't remember. I have my Lumix LX100 Mark II. I think I saw it in there though, but I haven't tried it. Does your Sony camera have focus stacking or high res? It doesn't have in-camera stacking. It now has focus bracketing. It started with the A7, and then you bring those into your computer, and then you have to use a proprietary Sony app to process the high res shots. And you have to select them, and it's really hard to find, the 20 or 30 photos. It's a pain in the butt, to be honest, because you might go out and take 400 or 500 shots, and then maybe 30 to 100 of them are part of a high res shot stack, right? And then you got to go in and manually select them in this software. I think you might be able to select one and it'll figure out where the other ones are. But then that didn't work too well for me. So I had to manually select all of them, and then it would process them. And then half the time it would stop and say unable to process, um, because something didn't line up. I forget what the error was, but it didn't work every time. So the problem is when you're out in the field and you take a high res shot, you won't know until you get home. Never mind the workflow being a pain in the butt. from point A to point B. So I never use it because that 60 megapixel camera potentially would give me what, a million pixels or whatever. I don't know what it is, but it'll give a lot of pixels. And I don't even know if, you know, my, well, I guess my computer can handle it because I did get one done, but it's a pain. It's a pain. You have to be on a really sturdy tripod, and there has to be no wind. Because what I remember was if like a leaf moved or something, the stack would fail and it wouldn't generate a high-res shot. You know? I mean, I'm exaggerating a little, but just to give you some idea of the frustration that I had with using high-res shot mode with the Sony camera. Nobody implements high-res shot mode better than Panasonic and Olympus. When I did it with my I gotta buy another S1R. When I was doing it with my S1R, which was what, 48 megapixel and is creating 200 megapixel, or is creating a giant file. It was tack sharp. It did everything in camera. The process was seamless. OM1, when I go from 20 megapixels to 50 or 80, seamless. And if it doesn't work, I know right away, right there in the field, while I'm taking the picture, that this stack did not work for whatever reason. Sometimes it's more often with handheld that, you move too much and it's not going to be able to stack the images in camera. On a tripod, I've never had it fail. And it's seamless. So I don't mind using it on my Olympus and Panasonic cameras, but I'll never use it on my Sony. It's just the workflow is just too much. It's too much work. And then the end result is it's okay. Yeah, it's a little sharper. Uh, Now I can see use cases for it maybe in product photography, art reproduction, where everything is in studio and perfectly set up, the lighting, and you're there in camera and you can check it right away because your laptop or thing is tethered right there and you can run the app and you can develop a workflow for high-res shot mode with the Sony camera in a studio and develop a workable something that wouldn't be so frustrating. But as an enthusiast photographer going out in the field and then trying to come home and process those, yeah, no way, I'm not doing it. It's not worth it to me for the tiny bit of increase that you might get because you got to have a super sharp lens on top of that. And I haven't bought any decent lenses for my Sony. In fact, I think Robert offered to buy it off me last night. Another, that we went out last night. I'm thinking about selling it to him because I just, like off the top of my head, I don't even know where that camera is right now. I assume it's on the shelf there, but I don't know for sure. So, but I do know where my OM1 is and my Pen F hand OM1 and Pen 8 to 18 for wow, 1278. That's nice, Robert. Wow. Congrats, man. That's awesome. That 8 to 18 I hear is a very good lens. Andrew says, I have some old 49 millimeter screw-on Boyle ones from the 80s that give those starbursts. Also refraction, simpler times. I know, right? 49 millimeter. That that rings Minolta to me. I don't know. Did you shoot Minolta with the 49 millimeter? I'm just taking a gander. A guess, I mean. And Darko says, I like to do composite with airplanes, just as the one I posted in the Rob Trek Flickr group, but my next learning phase is multi-layer. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I saw that photo. It looked almost like a painting. That was a nice shot, Darko. Uh, and gave up on staking takes ages ago process board. Oh, stacking. Yeah, you got bored. Okay, stacking takes ages ago. You got bored. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's been a couple of years since I've done it myself. And then my chat jumped all the way up again. Sorry, hold on. Let me go down to the bottom and work my way up. And are you thinking of Pep Ventosa? Let's look him up. Pep Ventosa. It could be. No, but that's pretty close. So this is Pep Ventosa by the website's by the same name. Oh, actually, I think it is this guy. It's not this guy. There was another guy. Unless these are just images I haven't seen yet. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. There's another photographer, or maybe it's some of the older work that this guy's done, because I haven't seen these before. These are beautiful though. Like this is the most obvious one. You can see it's a multiple exposure. I like this one. This is more in line with the kind of pictures that I saw where there were people in it and the people are, kind of moving around and thank you. Thank you. What was that, Andrew? Oops, wrong button. Stacking is my least favorite way to process. I know. I know I have to do it for a living though. Because I'm always exposure blending in my architectural photography. 2 weeks from today. Cool. So today's Sunday. 2 Sundays from now is the 22nd. Perfect. Although I might be at someone's birthday that day. There's a couple of birthdays around the 20th, 21st. I never get the date right. But I'll get the invitation and then I'll know. Rob, I left a message for you via David Crook. Okay, cool. Cool. I think I got your email too, but you can email me, rob@robtrek.com. That's another way just to contact me directly. This side towards screen. Good morning. Good to see you. And just shot 13 80 megapixel images on one puffball. Yeah. But you got that 90 macro, which is an awesome lens. Andrew says the 49 millimeter was on the Helios 42 on a Zenith. And the Russian camera that felt like there was a brick dropping inside you when you pressed the shutter button. Wow. Let's see. And Anthony says, I bought the OM1 Mark II and looking for setup and tutorial videos, only finding OM1 tutorials. If I watch your OM1 tutorials, is that good enough to learn? I would say for 95%. I don't have the OM1 Mark II, but there were there's some slight additions to it that are not on the OM1. But I think if you do everything that's in my OM1 video, you shouldn't have any problem, I believe, for 95% at least of the settings. So you can watch my best settings for the OM1 video, and you should be able to get through all of that without any differences that I'm aware of. But I've never even seen an OM1 Mark II in real life, to be honest. So I can't say if it's exactly the same or not for sure, but it's got to be. It's got to be. I'm tempted to get an OM1 Mark II, but man, if Olympus or OM System releases a camera like in a couple of months, I might want that more because my OM1 Mark I is really good already. I don't see a need to upgrade it for the kind of money we're talking about. If it was like $100 difference, I would do it. But I would with trade-in and all, it'd be like $1,000 difference at least for me to do that. So I don't know if there's $1,000 worth of stuff to upgrade to in the Mark II. And Darko says my Z5 does focus bracketing, then process the stack in Photoshop uh, or CZP, old stack. Yep. That's what you have to do with the Sonys. You have to stack them using some other software. Picolay is a free software. I've done a video on stacking, which I use Picolay as an example. And Marco says, I'm going to be attempting to photograph my home for a realtor once it's all cleared out. Any high-level tips? I have a V1 8200 in hand, which I think you also use. Yep. Uh, well, the photography itself is not hard. Okay, so what you do is first you do a bracketed shot, plus or minus 2 EV. So you're going to get 3 shots in camera. And then you use the V1 to trigger the 8200. A lot of times I hand hold the 8200 and I set the flash power manually. So when I first get into a property, I take a couple of test shots to get a feel for the flash power I'm going to need. And then I adjust it kind of on the fly, room to room, right? But, for example, like if I'm in the living room, a lot of times I have to do full power. And if I'm in the bathroom, I can usually get away with just using the V1 and I don't need the 8200. And the V1 will be at like 1/64th power. So there can be quite a range of flash settings uh, in a single property. But generally, I get a feel for how much flash power I need first because that's going to change depending on the ambient light coming in from outside, right? Because I like to blend ambient light with flash. And if it's a cloudy day, if it's a sunny day, if it's twilight, if it's dawn, ambient light's going to have a big impact on flash power. So since this is probably your first time, it's going to take you probably several shots to get a feel for how much lighting. So I have the V1 on camera. I have the 8200 in my left hand, and I'll usually point the V1 uh, towards the deep end of the room to add fill light. I'm not pointing it down straight directly, like parallel with the floor. Usually it's pointed up at 45 degrees. And I also use the dome diffuser a lot of times, not always, but sometimes. Then the 8200, I always have pointed up at the ceiling to bounce the light back and spread it evenly. So that'll be my fourth shot. So I'll have 3 bracketed shots plus or minus 2. I'll have my shot with flash. The flash needs to kill all of the ambient light. So I'm at 1/250th of a second, f5.6 usually. Sometimes I have to go to f8, even f11 if it's really bright, to kill all of the ambient light, or as much as I can, so that the only light that is filling the room is the V1 and 8200. And then I bring those in to Photoshop, and then I do exposure blending. So what you want to do is watch Nathan Cool uh, and search his channel for Flambient. Nathan Cool Flambient. I learned everything there, everything I'm talking about here. So, and typically, you're going to have to be on a tripod, and that camera cannot move. Not even 1 pixel. If and then that will give you step by step everything I do, pretty much. I mean, I've streamlined the workflow a little bit from what he does because what he does is very, very high end. I don't get paid enough to do everything he does. Okay. But uh, you can get started. Yeah, Nathan Cool. So Marsha's asking for it. Let me pull it up. Nathan Cool has so much, particularly if you want to do residential real estate. Um, here's his That's his channel. And then on his channel, just search for Flambient, and then you get an idea. Okay, yeah, generally towards the ceiling. So the 8200 will be pointed at the ceiling, and then the V1 also at the ceiling, but maybe in a different direction. So it depends how big the room is, right? But uh, maybe take several flash pictures. But watch the Flambient video before you do any of that stuff, so that you have a workflow. And then, I mean, I have a video about it, but don't watch mine. Okay, just watch Nathan. Okay. Hi Rob. Out of simple AI curiosity, I made a ChatGPT evaluation of film versus the EM1 Mark III, and EM1 came out on top for more results. I'm not sure what bias AI might have. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, AI, I've messed with it, here and there, right? Uh, and it's really good at some things. I try not to use it. I try to just Google and read and look for things myself first. Uh, but then when I don't get results that I'm happy with, I'll go to ChatGTP and ask. And then sometimes I get great results and it tells me exactly what I want to know and gives me an idea of where I need to look in Google for more answers or to elaborate more on whatever it is I was researching. Uh, but yeah, Chat GTP in of itself is limited. If it's biased or not, I don't know. I don't know how it extrapolates its data to put together what it's going to show you, you know? But I know that sometimes I've had to go to ChatGTP because I couldn't formulate a search properly on Google. I guess vice versa would work too. So, because like I said, once I'm in ChatGTP, it gives me an answer. It gives me ideas of things I should look for back on Google to do more research. Yes, I prefer my own research. Yeah. So it's a tool, uh, like anything else. But I go back and forth sometimes, depending what I'm researching. But I like to find it like I like to find a white paper or uh, a PDF or something on what I'm researching rather than whatever ChatGTP tells me, you know. Okay. Bert says, "Hi Rob. In addition to the 8 to 25 f4 Zuiko, which fast ultrawide prime lens would you recommend? For example, the 8mm Zuiko or the 9mm Panasonic or the 6mm Laowa?" Okay. If you want a rectilinear lens, the 9mm Panasonic is awesome. I think it's an f1.7. It's very fast. I'd probably defer you to the 9mm Panasonic for most things. The 8mm fisheye is going to be wider, obviously, but it's actually, I think, would be significantly wider. I haven't shot the two side by side, but the 8mm feels it's wider than my 7mm rectilinear lens when I'm in fisheye mode. Now, most of the Olympus cameras, EM5 Mark III, maybe the Mark II, I haven't tried it, but certainly the EM1 Mark II, 3, OM1, all have fisheye correction, right? And the problem is when you shoot with the fisheye correction, because let's say you want a rectilinear image, it's a camera. You have to bring it into whatever software to defisheye the fisheye lens. So it's fine if you you want fisheye and rectilinear, a little, there's a couple more steps involved, either in camera or post processing. But the photographer sprinkling the portfolio or whatever you deliver to the client with a few images that are fisheye are kind of cool. They love it. Not much, but just a couple extra steps. So it depends on your workflow. But the 9 millimeter, you don't have to worry about it at all. And then if you want a fisheye effect, they have filters for that, right? You can turn a rectilinear image into fisheye. So it's a little backwards. But yeah, I think either one. I would avoid the Laowa because I think that's manual focus. If it's autofocus, I'm not that familiar with that lens. Now, I do have a true circular fisheye from Seven Artisans. It's 4.5 millimeter, and that thing is crazy. That's a lot of fun too. But if you're just asking for ultra wide, both of those are fine. Just understand uh, the differences in workflow. With the 8 millimeter fisheye, there's an extra step because I don't think fisheye is something you shoot all the time, right? You just once in a while is fine. And so you're going to have to deal with this workflow with every single image most of the time. So that's why I was saying 9 millimeter might be a better choice. And then the few times you want a fisheye look, you do it in reverse with some kind of filter. But with the 8 millimeter, you have to do it all the time. Okay, and that's it there. Okay, so let me look at the 6 millimeter Laowa. Yeah, that's a manual focus lens, it looks like. And it's 450 bucks. So yeah, I'd stick with the Olympus because 8 millimeter right now, yeah, 799 brand new, 650 used, 69. Oh, yeah, right here. I would just get this. And I think the Panasonic at 9 millimeter is 450 bucks. Refurbished for 350, that's a deal. 450 brand new. So either way, okay. Uh and David Hill says, sorry, but I have a Panasonic 25 MFT that gives me much fun. Yep, definitely. It's not about the lens, right? It's about you and how you're feeling when you go out. So like I went out last night, I just was having fun, you know, and with the kit lenses. And Anthony says, I bought the O1 Mark II and saw you have an, I don't know why I'm seeing that particular message. Unless, but yeah, if I didn't answer this before, yes, you can watch it. I think it's about 95% the same. And where there's differences, I have one video on the OM1 Mark 1, I think, called Best Settings. If you watch that video, that'll get you really a long way. The OM1 Mark 2 has some additional settings that can be, useful, like the graduated ND. I didn't even talk about any of the stuff. So I would watch just the best settings video for OM1 Mark 1. And then from there, you probably have to experiment until people start coming out with videos for the Mark II about the additional features that it has in real time, like in practice in the field, instead of the doing a checkbox saying it has this, which is what most of the videos are now. But there's not. I haven't looked myself, so maybe there are, but I don't know of too many people doing out in the field type videos for the computational stuff. Now Lee Hoy has a lot of birding stuff for the OM1 Mark II, and I believe Emily Taupin is got a few videos for the OM1 Mark II. But I'm not quite as familiar with what they're about. I mean, not the people, but the videos. I don't know what the videos are covering on the OM1 Mark II because since I don't have one, I don't watch those videos. Okay. Uh, all right, let me grab a couple of images here. And yeah, these are pretty cool. So I think I showed a couple of these already. I thought this was a cool image. This is with that swirly filter. Uh, I don't know why this has a vibe. This has a very familiar vibe to it. Like I just copied somebody else again. But I like this picture. I like the very tungsten. Because what I did when I shoot at night, a lot of times I'll set the white balance. I will fix the white balance to daylight. So I don't think it says that here in the EXIF. Yeah, I don't see it. So, but I fix it. So that's why the lights are so yellow here. And I just like that for some reason. That's the monochrome we saw earlier. This is another monochrome. I thought this was cool. This is a boat that has light painted into a car. So that was really cool. And these wheels were turning as it was floating. I mean, they did a really amazing. This is a small boat, but they did a really amazing job with the decorations. I have a color shot of it somewhere. Okay, so this was at Savage Mill. This is also, yeah, the M5 Mark II and the 17 millimeter f1.8. I don't know. Since I was there, I've taken this picture a few times before. I like to take it each time I go back. I try to take the same exact picture, at least one that I've taken before, particularly when it's of a building that's run down to see how much decay has happened since the last time I was there. It doesn't look like much has changed in the couple of years I was there, but I have a really nice black and white image of this that I took with a film camera, my Hasselblad. This is another bridge, EM5 Mark II and 17 millimeter f1.8, ISO 200 f8. So, usual settings. Nothing special here setting wise. But um, what pissed me off about this, and the reason I'm showing you this one is I was like, oh, this will be so cool to come back in an hour when it's dark, right? And get these lights at night. Anyway, because this I took right around 4 p.m. So I said, okay, it's going to be dark around 5 p.m. Let's come back. But I didn't make it back until about 6:30. I came back at 6:30. They turned the lights off. I think the mall or whatever shopping center shuts down at 6 p.m. So they turn off the lights to the bridge too. I was like, oh my God, what a waste of time. This the ISO 1600. That's because I forgot to change the ISO back to auto. For whatever reason, I had the ISO set to 1600 for something else I was doing. And I didn't catch it when I was taking this picture, but still it came out really good, I think. Okay. And then this is the K3 monochrome with the star filter. I love this shot. I just love all these Christmas lights just with all the stars. So, I mean, overall, it's not a very good picture, but I just love the effect that I'm getting from this lens filter. So that's why I like this picture. Not so much that it's a great shot, but just because I was just having fun with this lens filter. Oops. And then there's a black and white shot. Same shot as the other one, but this is with the K3 monochrome instead of the M5. I bet I can put them side by side though. So that's that one and this one. So there they are side by side difference. Wonder if I can do that. Wonder if I can convert that to black and white colors. Where's the saturation? Here. There. Let's put a converted black and white side by side. So this image and this image. That looks pretty good. Just converting it straight up. I mean, the processing is different. Let's see. Andrew says stakeout. Okay. And David has to sign off. Okay. Thanks for coming in today, David. I appreciate it. And Rob, I get a lot of lens flare with the 7 to 14 2.8. With 8, no, it's not going to be much better. Lens flare is really hard to avoid with a wide angle lens because you got lights, it's catching light from everywhere. Uh, you have to learn, because I get a lot of lens flare with my 7 to 14 Panasonic, but it's bad because it's like purple. At least the Olympus one doesn't do that, and 8 to 25 doesn't do that. But yeah, there's not much you can do other than try to mitigate it by adjusting the angle of the picture that you're taking. What what the what they're good at doing, these pro lenses like the 7 to 14 and 8 to 25, is maintaining the contrast, right? Even when there's a lot of flare. That's where these lenses do better. So when you think of lens flare, a lot of times you think of losing all your contrast, getting very bright highlights, et cetera, et cetera. But these lenses are much better at reducing or keeping the contrast even when there's flaring. So I don't have these lenses myself because I have this Panasonic one, which is a non-pro lens. Um, so the reference I'm giving you is my experience with the 12 to 40 Pro, which, at 12 millimeters is still decently wide, and it's going to have lens flare, but it does maintain the contrast better. Do you use auto ISO as your default setting? Yes, I do. I mean, except when I'm using flash. When I'm shooting in full manual with flash, I set the ISO manually. So Marco, I'm sorry, you need to set your ISO manually as well. But yeah, when I'm just out shooting, I rarely shoot in full manual. I usually shoot aperture priority or shutter priority, depending on what the scene is or what the subject is. Oh, excuse me. I swear, the coffee, I gotta ask you guys this. I think the coffee my mom got me is decaf. Seriously, I translated everything on this bag. Nothing on here says decaf except for the green label. Having that green on there, I think, implies decaf, but I have no idea. It's really good coffee too. It tastes really good. But man, it's like I've been waking up having this and I can't stay awake. I have to I the last I opened this up on maybe the day before this, but I can't, man, it's killing me. I'm like sleepy now. So I don't know if you guys know or not, but I'm telling you, I think it's decaf. I'm gonna have to get some real coffee because this is not cutting it. I can't keep falling asleep like around lunchtime. What super wide angle Nikon lens would you recommend for the f mount And do you own one for the DF? Okay. The very best one is well, let me rephrase that. Because when you say best, right, then you get a lot of, yeah, there's no such thing as the best, right? Let's put it that way. I really liked my Nikon 20 millimeter f1.8 lens. I think I paid $800 for it when it came out, bought it brand new. So it's 10 millimeter equivalent for micro four thirds. I can't even think full frame focal lengths anymore. I can, but typically I think in micro four third terms. So if somebody tells me 25 millimeters, I know exactly what they mean. But if they're talking about full frame, I have to convert it. Okay, so 50 millimeters on full frame is 25. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of all in micro four thirds now. But the 20 millimeter f1.8, I don't think anyone will argue. If you need something wider, I wouldn't be able to recommend anything. Uh, but because you're getting into borderline fisheye territory. Beyond that, there are some 16 millimeter lenses, but I think they're hyper expensive. So I would look at the 20 millimeter f1.8 G lens, the G, not the older D lens if it exists. I don't think it even exists. The 20 millimeter f1.8 G. And yeah, I try to use my hand as an extended lens hood. Yeah, it doesn't always help. What I've done, okay, what I've done on photo shoots where, like I'm shooting the side of a building, right? And the sun is right there. I don't have much choice, right? So what I do in terms of composition, because I have to keep the line straight. I do my best to avoid the flare, but sometimes I cannot, right? On a shoot. So I bring an umbrella because, like you said, your hand doesn't cut it sometimes because how wide is 7 millimeters? It's like super wide. So your hand is like this big in the frame. So it's not quite blocking all the light that you need. So actually, on a job site, I bring umbrellas to put over and cover the sky or whatever, and then I'll exposure blend or sky replace or something later. That's what I do sometimes is I'll use an umbrella to block out the entire sky and do a sky replacement, in Photoshop. Coffee grown at high altitude has less caffeine than lower altitude. Oh, that's interesting. Did not know that. I don't know much about coffee because, well, I already recycled it. I was just going to get the thing, but I buy Maxwell House because it's cheap and it tastes okay. It's not bad. Uh, Add a little creamer and you're good to go. But, I'll get coffee as a gift sometimes, right? Because it's a great gift getting coffee. And yeah, so I finally broke into this other bag because I finished my Maxwell House. Oh, I'm so sleepy right now. At Rob Trek, you need Cuban espressos such as Pylon or Bustelo. That will wake you up. Yeah, I used to have this coffee called Death or something. I forget what it was called, but it had a skull on the bag. It's supposed to be really strong, and it was. And Norm says, I think angle of lens would be more relevant than focal length right now. We have more sensor formats than, yeah. Yeah, it would be nice to know what the angle of view is or the field of view is, regardless of what it says in millimeters on the lens. Just say, this has a 45 millimeter field of view. So that would be roughly what, a 25 millimeter lens or 35? But I wouldn't need the care. I could look at the lens and say this is, a certain field of view. But then the problem is you can use the same lens on multiple formats, right? So if you take the lens and you put it, like I'm thinking of labeling, right? You couldn't label the field of view on the lens because the lens could be used on APS-C or full frame or even micro four thirds, who knows, right? But APS-C and full frame is a common interchangeable lens mount, like Canon and Nikon, Sony. Uh, but if we were more accustomed to speaking in terms of field of view, then the lens wouldn't matter, right? We could say, for street photography, you probably want 145 or 150, 140-degree field of view or 120. 120 would be a good field of view, right? But anyway, yeah, I know where you're coming from, Norm. It's tricky though, right? I was thinking about the 20 millimeter f1. Eesh, why would you want an f1? It's a wide angle lens. I guess maybe for super wide field astrophotography, like doing Milky Ways and stuff, that could work. Maybe. I mean, depending on which you have the Z50, right? I forget which camera you have. Uh, but yeah, the faster the better. But I don't know. I don't know too many applications for f1 at 20 millimeters other than wide field astro, like doing Milky Way shots. And I don't know how good this lens is at coma, which is what you really have to pay attention with wide, any kind of astrophotography really, is the coma of the lens. So check that, because if you're going to have really bad coma and softness wide open at f1, it's not going to work as a wide field astrophotography lens. And if you need f1 for something else, I can't think of what it would be. But if you're not doing it for astrophotography and you need f1, then maybe, right? But I would check for that. I would check for people that use that lens in astrophotography if you're thinking about it for astrophotography. Just go on the Flickr and search that lens and uh or go into the forums and see if you can find some sample images. One topic I'd be interested in your thoughts on. Why did my thing jump all the way up again? It's really annoying. Okay. Uh, oh, it's a 1.8. Okay, sorry. So yeah, I don't know, that might be good then. If it's for full frame, 20 millimeters would be great. 20 millimeter f1.8 Viltrox. But again, depends on your application. Everything I said about the f1 would apply to this as well. You roast your own coffee. Wow, that's crazy. I wouldn't even know where to start. Lavazza Espresso, smooth as silk. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of good things. I hope my audio is okay now. It might have been dropping out because I walked away for a minute, right? But if it's still dropping out right now, it looks okay. Looks okay on my thing here. And Andrew says, 20-something years ago, I had a coffee roaster as a client. I was really enjoying the Kuva and Sorblend. Wow, you guys are amazing. You got such great uh, stories in your life. I wish my life was more interesting. It's not. I just go out and take pictures. That's about it. And I do like the 7 millimeter field of view. It surprised me how many of the shots are taken at that setting when I checked. Yeah, it's pretty wide. I don't shoot that wide very often except for work, but so I also like the 9 millimeter body cap lens, actually even wider with the slight fisheye effect. Yeah, the fisheye effect tends to do that. It makes whatever millimeter, it feels like it's a couple of millimeters wider than a rectilinear lens. All right. I don't see any other questions or comments, but nobody knows if that coffee's decaf or not, other than me, like just passing out here in a live stream. And Chris says, "Hi, I've watched your setting video for the M5 III that I just bought. What a great video thing." Oh, you're welcome, Chris. I'm happy to help. Rob Trek the biography would be awesome. Yeah, if you wanna follow somebody's life that's been a train wreck, and I still haven't recovered, you know? I'm still scrapping for a few dollars here and there, donations, buy me a coffee, memberships, all that stuff. I'm not like Marcus Picks, for example, that's just he would give away everything on that shelf. He'd be like, "I don't need that. I don't need that. Yeah, this is all right. Yeah, take this. I don't want that, you know. This is okay, you know how he is, right? He just he has a couple of things that he really likes, and he's always searching for something else, and he buys like 10 things to find one thing he likes, and then he gives away the other 9 the 9 things. Uh, be nice to be at that level, right, one day. Darko says, "I liked your father's." Oh, yeah, that was rough. That's the first time I ever filmed, really, and it was a mess, but it came out okay. It's more about the meaning, yeah, I'm sad. That was 5 years ago. It's hard to believe he's been gone. There was a video of my dad's funeral at Arlington Cemetery. He was in the military, so he got the full, salute, gun, 21 shot, whatever it is, plus the bugle thing. It was hard. It was hard to watch. It's hard to, it's a very tough time in my life. I was very, very close with my father, and yeah, I miss him every day. Gotta go. Have a lovely day, everyone. Okay. So I think this is a good time to break. I don't see too many questions today, and I've kind of shown everything I've done the last couple of days. And all I can say is thanks everyone for being here today. I really appreciate it. It's always good to see you guys. I hope you're doing well. And if you enjoy these streams and the want to support the work that I do the rest of the week, like answering questions online and creating the tutorials and help videos, and also the people that I help offline, in the camera club and stuff, you can do that by becoming a member. It's just 99 cents, and or you can buy me a coffee, or you can make a donation. All those links I think are down below. But either way, thank you so much for being here with me today. It's great to see you, and have a great week. And I hope to see you again soon.